They sang us through Sunday morning. Voices full of spirit, lifting souls, stirring hearts. But by Monday night, many were gone. Their lives claimed not just by AIDS, but by silence, shame, and a church unequipped to hold their truth. This is a story of faith tested by fear, of brilliance dimmed too soon, and of gospel artists who gave everything to a tradition that could not always give back. Black, gifted, and queer, they shaped the sound of salvation, while quietly bearing the weight of a deadly epidemic. These are the voices we lost, and the truths we must now face, and still do. Their struggle is a mirror, and their music, even now, is a sermon. Sylvester. Raised in a Pentecostal church in Los Angeles, Sylvester discovered his gospel roots early, fusing spirituality with unapologetic queerness. Exiled from the church for being openly gay, he transformed pain into power, channeling sacred energy into disco hits like "You Make Me Feel," "Mighty Real." A fearless black queer gospel icon, Sylvester challenged stigma during the AIDS crisis, openly living with HIV and donating his royalties to HIV/AIDS charities. He died in 1988 at 41, but his legacy lives on, empowering LGBT gospel artists, shaping AIDS in music history, and redefining what it means to praise loudly and live truthfully. Keith Barrow. Born to the legendary civil rights leader Reverend Willie Barrow, Keith was raised on church choirs and spiritual protest. His soulful voice blended gospel passion with disco rhythm, making waves with hits like "You Know You Want to Be Loved." A rising star and closeted black gay man, Keith never publicly discussed his sexuality or diagnosis, reflecting the silence forced on queer gospel-rooted artists. He died of AIDS in 1983 at just 29. Though his passing was shrouded in stigma, his voice remains part of a hidden gospel legacy silenced by fear, now finally being reclaimed. Germaine Stewart. Germaine Stewart began singing in church choirs before breaking through on Soul Train and topping charts with "We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off," a pop anthem with a subtle gospel message of restraint and dignity. A proud performer with deep gospel roots, Stewart never publicly confirmed his HIV status, yet died of AIDS-related liver cancer in 1997 at age 39. Despite chart success, he was buried in an unmarked grave, a tragic symbol of how the AIDS crisis erased black queer artists. Today, his voice is being rediscovered as part of a gospel-infused legacy that preached love, truth, and protection. Carl Bean. Carl Bean was a gospel singer turned activist whose 1977 anthem, "I Was Born This Way," became a rallying cry for LGBTQ pride long before it was popular or safe. Raised in the Black Pentecostal Church, he fused gospel passion with a bold queer message, eventually founding the Unity Fellowship Church, a haven for Black LGBTQ Christians. Diagnosed with HIV, Bean devoted his life to advocacy, creating the Minority AIDS Project and transforming pain into purpose. Though he died in 2021 after a long illness, his work in gospel and HIV activism made him a spiritual father to many, a rare voice who lived his faith and truth out loud. Keith Christopher. Goodbye, world. Keith Christopher began his journey in the Black church, where gospel music shaped his soaring voice and spiritual resolve. He rose to fame on Broadway and television, including appearances on Another World, while quietly living with HIV for over a decade. Instead of retreating, he became a tireless HIV educator and performer, using his voice to heal and inform. As a proud Black gay man of faith, he stood at the intersection of gospel truth and HIV awareness, breaking silence in spaces that feared both. Keith died in 1998, but his message of love, visibility, and sacred defiance still echoes today. David Daniels. David Daniels was a rising gospel tenor whose voice stirred the spirit and soul. A gifted vocalist from the church tradition, he recorded with gospel greats and was praised for his purity of tone and heartfelt delivery. Yet behind the harmonies, David lived quietly as a gay man during a time of heavy stigma in the gospel world. When he died of AIDS-related complications in 1992, at just 26, the gospel industry offered little public mourning. His death, like many others, was wrapped in silence. But Daniel's talent lives on in recordings and memories, a reminder of the gospel brilliance lost too soon to HIV. Tony Washington.
Show me what I gotta do.
Tony Washington, the rich tenor voice behind the Grammy-winning group Sounds of Blackness, brought power and conviction to every gospel-infused note. Known for his stirring lead vocals and soulful presence, Tony helped carry the message of faith, justice, and love to global audiences. Privately living with HIV, he remained a strong yet silent figure in gospel, caught in the crossfire of faith and stigma. Tony died of AIDS-related complications in 2004, but his legacy continues through the group's enduring message, reminding us that many gospel voices, like his, were lost in silence but sang with truth. Finnis Crutchfield Jr. Bishop Finnis Crutchfield Jr. was a Methodist powerhouse who helped launch evangelist Oral Roberts into fame. But in 1987, his shocking death from AIDS rocked the church. The public image of holiness clashed with rumors of a secret life. His passing became a church scandal. Speculation grew that Crutchfield led a double life, hiding his truth behind the pulpit. Some claimed the church covered it up to protect its image. His story reveals how religious secrets and stigma around AIDS created silence and fear. Even in death, his name challenges the church's comfort zones. Bishop Crutchfield was a towering figure in the Methodist Church, known for his fiery sermons and political influence. But in 1987, the world was stunned when he died from AIDS, a revelation that shook religious communities. As details emerged, whispers of a hidden life grew louder, igniting a church scandal still talked about today. Though never confirmed publicly, speculation of secret relationships and a double life followed him. Many believe church leaders worked to hide the truth to avoid backlash. Crutchfield's death exposed deep stigma around AIDS in religious spaces. His story remains one of the most haunting secrets of the modern church. Donald Vales.
Long as I have Jesus.
Donald Vales filled sanctuaries with unmatched musical brilliance. As founder of the Donald Vales Choraleers, he brought innovation, power, and anointing to gospel music. His arrangements blended tradition with fresh spirit, touching countless lives. In 1997, he passed under quiet circumstances, with whispers of AIDS surrounding his legacy. Though never officially confirmed, many believe Vales's death was AIDS-related, yet the church remained silent. His passing sparked quiet conversations about stigma and health within gospel circles. Despite the mystery, his musical impact remains timeless. Donald Vales's voice may have gone silent, but his unspoken legacy still echoes in choirs across the world. Calvin Hampton. Calvin Hampton was a brilliant organist whose sacred compositions transcended denomination. Blending classical music with church tradition, he earned wide respect. In 1984, he died from AIDS-related complications, a loss that rocked both gospel and liturgical music communities. His talent was pure, his faith deep. Though not widely known outside sacred music circles, Hampton's impact was massive. Raymond Jacques. Raymond Jacques was a trailblazer, the first black man with a major role on a daytime soap. Yet behind his Hollywood fame was a man of deep spiritual roots and quiet gospel influence. He died of AIDS in 1990, a reality many didn't know. His death exposed a hidden crisis among black actors. His sexuality was often whispered about, but rarely addressed. In a time of harsh stigma, his death remained unspoken by mainstream media. But behind the silence, his life became a symbol of dignity, strength, and dual identity, actor and believer. His story deserves to be remembered, not erased. Max Robinson. Max Robinson broke barriers as the first black network news anchor. Raised in a faith-filled home, he carried the confidence of the pulpit into national journalism. But in 1988, he died of AIDS-related complications, shocking fans and exposing media silence on the crisis. His death challenged the black community's response to HIV. Despite his fame, Robinson battled quietly. Many close to him didn't know he was sick until it was too late. His death served as a wake-up call that AIDS was not limited by race, class, or education. Max's legacy isn't just about news, it's about truth, stigma, and the need for compassion.